On the papal flight back to Rome, the Holy Father condemned euthanasia and abortion. During a news conference, Pope Francis said assisted suicide and abortion are attempts to, quote, play with life. He added that life, both at its beginning and the end, is not to be played with. Joining us now from Rome is Elias Turk, Vatican Editor at ACI Mena, an Arabic news service provided by EWTN News. Elias, you were in Marseille during Pope Francis's apostolic journey. Why did the Holy Father decide to conclude the Mediterranean meetings himself? Why was it important for him to be in Marseille?
Yes, Catherine, going to Marseille for the Rencontre Méditerranéenne, the Mediterranean encounter was important to the Pope because one of the topics discussed on these meetings was the plight of migrants, which has been a major concern throughout Pope Francis' pontificate. This encounter in Marseille brought together some 140 young people of various creeds with bishops from 30 Mediterranean countries to discuss several topics and challenges these countries are facing. And the migrant crisis was one of the big focal points of discussion. The Holy Father has made several trips throughout his time as Pope to places that are witnessing the arrival of tens of thousands of migrants, such as the Italian island of Lampedusa, Greece, and Malta. So it was important for him to conclude these meetings himself and to be heard again on an issue that is of such pressing concern to the modern world.
That being said, how did Pope Francis address the migrants matter in Marseille? What did he say?
On the papal plane heading to Marseille on Friday afternoon, the Pope used his usual greeting to the journalists on board to stress the importance of the issue of migration, adding to one of the reporters, "I hope I will have the courage to say everything I want to say." And in fact, the Pope had the courage, because in a moment of reflection with religious leaders near a memorial dedicated to sailors and migrants lost at sea next to the Basilica of Notre-Dame de la Garde in Marseille, he said, "We find ourselves at a crossroads of civilization. On the one hand, there is fraternity, which makes the human community flourish with goodness, and on the other, indifference, which bloodies the Mediterranean." He added, "People who are at risk of drowning when abandoned on the waves must be rescued. It is a duty of humanity. It is a duty of civilization." And in the final session of the Rencontre Méditerranéenne, he declared that amidst today's sea of conflicts, we are here to enhance the contribution of the Mediterranean so that it can return to being a laboratory of peace.
Strong words. Elias, during the papal flight from Marseille to Rome on Saturday, Pope Francis used his meeting with reporters to condemn, I would say strongly condemn, euthanasia and abortion. You were on board the papal flight. What more can you tell us about the Pope's comments?
Yes, the Pope was asked by a French journalist if he had spoken about euthanasia in the private conversation he had with France's President Emmanuel Macron earlier in the day. In fact, the French government is currently preparing to pass a controversial bill on end-of-life issues that could legalize assisted suicide and euthanasia in the country. The Holy Father answered that he did not talk to Macron about it during this meeting, but they talked about it on Macron's last visit to the Vatican. Then the Pope said, "You don't play with life, neither at the beginning nor at the end. It is not played with." And he added, "Whether it is the law not to let the child grow in the mother's womb or the law of euthanasia in disease and old age, arguing that we should be careful with ideological colonization that ruin human life and go against human life." He explained further that he was not saying it is a faith thing, but it is a human thing.
Elias Turk, Vatican Editor at ACI Mena, thank you for that great insight.